Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app today and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome into Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm Sean Anderson, the host of the CHGO White Sox podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. We have the full CHGO White Sox crew on this historic White Sox day. We have Vinnie Duber. He is back. What?
I can just see Vinnie in my side.
That's a word. That's a word. That's a bugaboo of a word for me.
What word?
Historical.
Historic? A guy
not?
signed a contract to play baseball. It's not history.
The biggest
It's not
contract.
history. It's
the
White
biggest
Sox
one.
history,
Yeah.
but it's not history.
I mean, no offense, like, this is my life at this point. Like, it's my job. I do this every day.
Because
so, like,
today is a historic day, but it has nothing to do with what happened at 35th and Shields.
Yeah.
all right, fair.
And we'll leave it there.
That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. He was at Guaranteed Rate Field today. He met Andrew Benintendi. We have video with them together. They talked for about 5 minutes. We'll give you that interview. Also talked with Pedro Grifol. That one's a little bit longer. We got a 10-minute interview with Pedro. So a lot of good content from Vinnie that we have coming your way on the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We got Herb Lawrence, the man in the middle.
Hello?
Sorry.
Jumped the gun a little bit on that one, Herb.
Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
All right, there you go. Man in the middle. You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. And I didn't think about this when you brought this up yesterday, Vinny, but 1996 Jordan is in the chat, and it's Duba with the tuba. Was that brought up when you were playing the tuba?
Probably at some point.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I think Lawrence...
It was a years-long journey, so I don't remember every interaction that happened during that time.
Lawrence is in the conference meeting at this point,
Yeah.
but he keeps doing the Duba thing because of Australia.
Yeah,
so I think I'll have fun with that one.
It's verging more on just being a Pacino impression at this point, but yeah, he does keep saying it.
And he's not going to stop, so why not just give him more ammo, I think, at this point.
Right.
But we're excited to talk about, again, this larger day, this...
important. You could say important
day in White Sox history. Vinny is back from Australia, and he was at Guaranteed Rate Field. What was the vibe like? It was about 11 a.m. today. They announced Andrew Benintendi and Pedro Grifol. We knew it was announced a little bit officially by the White Sox last night around 6 p.m., and you also got to chat with Rick Hahn. So a busy day. What's the main takeaway, I guess, from all of the speakers? Why is Andrew Benintendi a White Sox?
I think the answer to that question is he fills every need they were looking for this offseason but one. And I think the one might be the biggest one and the most important one. And I think that kind of explains the reaction of the fan base or even, some of the analysis that I've done or other media members have done on this signing. Andrew Benintendi is now the highest paid free agent in White Sox history, and they do not care if he hits home runs at all. And that's a little counterintuitive, but if you can get past that fact, Andrew Benintendi improves their base running. Andrew Benintendi improves their defense. Mm-hmm. Andrew Benintendi improves their IQ. He improves that Guardians-ish kind of vibe of taking the extra base and getting, running around and doing those little things that we didn't see a lot from the White Sox last year. Andrew Benintendi improves their on-base numbers a lot. He's a guy that does a lot of stuff well, and a lot of stuff that the White Sox need to improve on. He doesn't do that one thing that was probably the biggest reason they were not very good last year, but he does all those other things. Are the White Sox a much better offensive team with Andrew Benintendi? Yes. Does that mean that they're going to do everything and that's going to turn everything around immediately? Not by that one move. It's not. I think I said before the show, how the best way for me to evaluate will the Andrew Benintendi signing be a good signing for the White Sox? And I said, tell me what Eloy Jimenez's home run total is going to be in 2023. Like, Andrew Benintendi could have a great year for the White Sox this year. It will only be a good signing if it helps the team win because everybody else on the team played well.
If Eloy, like I could tell you this right now, like if Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert hit 70 home runs combined, like they're probably going to win 88 games or more. I think it's a given, whether Andrew Benintendi hits 340 or he hits 278. I think, that has been the big takeaway. But what's got you excited? Anything you've taken away from the White Sox introducing their newest signing?
Yeah, when Pedro Grifol was talking today, and people were asking him about, his versatility and then what he'll do in that specific ballpark at guaranteed rate. And he was just going back to and Andrew himself were saying hit balls in that first year in 2021 and just be pop flies. And they both were those balls that he hit in 2021 will turn into home runs or doubles off the wall at guaranteed rate. And also they were talking about how Andrew kind of just changed his game to accommodate what the Royals needed. He's like, okay, I'm not going to hit balls out of the ballpark. I've seen that last year. I'm going to hit 300. I'm going to get on base. And that is a person that I want on my team. I don't want a person just like, hey, man, this is my walk year. I'm going to be doing me. I'm on a garbage team like the Royals. I know we're not going anywhere. I'm going to go out and try to hit 20 bombs and get the most money on the free agent market as I can. No, Andrew was still a team player in the context of what he can do for the team. When he saw the shift, he hit the ball the other way. When he saw people playing him a certain way, he hit the ball where they weren't. I like that player who is adjust to what the defense is giving them and what the team needs.
And I don't want to draw this parallel specifically because I think it's the wrong way to think about this signing, even though, big money and everything. But it's a skill that he has. Who does that remind you of what you just said? Jose Abreu from last year, right? Jose Abreu changed his offensive approach last year and became tremendous at doing a different kind of hitting than he had done throughout the rest of his whole career because he saw that's what he was going to be able to do, be it the ball or be it that he wasn't hitting as many home runs as he was accustomed to doing. So he changed his game to be a big on-base guy, got a ton of hits. Andrew Benintendi has that maybe same IQ and that same ability to change himself to make himself as successful as he can be and contribute to the team as much as he can.
I think if you have 14 games played in 2020, we can just cross that off on your baseball reference. We could just not look at that. That was a weird year for everybody, right? So outside of that year, his worst OPS plus was 99, right? At his worst, he's average. At his best, he finds a way to get on. He finds to hit singles. I have heard Rick Hahn talk about the double potential that Andrew Benintendi has, but I'll show the spray chart in a second. I don't believe his power is going to change that much. It seems like he'll be the same consistent slap hitter that he's always been. I don't know if it's going to be 5 home runs or not. It depends on the pitches that he gets.
I can guarantee if he gets he's hitting more than 5 home runs this year. I'll put all the money.
That's a different podcast. That's
best bets.
Right.
And also, let's remember too that all three of us said that there would be 7 White Sox hitters to hit 20 in 2022, and none of them did. So
right.
So don't take our home run prediction as gospel.
I can't wait though until we do it again. We're probably Tim Anderson's gonna hit 20.
7's gonna be a little much.
Lloyd's gonna hit. We'll figure it out.
Hose is gone. No.
We do have some super chats that I want to get to, and then we'll jump back on the Benintendi trade, and we'll get to Vinnie's interview with Andrew Benintendi as well. We do have Stefan Bardo, and this one just made me giggle. Thank you, Stefan Bardo, for the super chat. Vinnie, did Benintendi ask you about your mustache?
He was. It was a topic of conversation.
Hell yeah.
Yes, it was brought up to him, and he said, "Yes, that's very recognizable." He says it's the first thing I noticed. So,
look at you.
Yeah,
that's your shirt.
I'm wearing bright pink, and the first thing,
purple shoes,
yeah.
and there you go with your mustache. I mean, it's a great look. It's iconic. If you do ever shave it off, we'll all be sad. And 2, I think the biggest thing, you had a wedding and you didn't shave it off, right? I mean, usually those moments are big moments for people's facial hair, whether you can keep it or not.
My wife has never seen me without a mustache, so
she's the best.
She would probably freak out if I did show up with it shaved off.
And your story about you didn't even shave it to see the Great Barrier Reef.
It's true.
Right. F that. I'll stay up here.
I mean, I saw some of it, just briefly.
Yeah.
Right. And then Don G coming in with a super chat. If the White Sox fall short this season and TA struggles with his defense, is there a chance Jerry will open up the checkbook for Manny if he opt-outs?
That seems like a question for 12 months from now, or 9 months from now.
And no, I could already answer that. No. No.
And I don't understand. I mean,
No.
you know, it's
Manny's
more
not
about
going back to shortstop either.
right. It's more about if Moncada doesn't play well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know if it's TA dependent.
And TA is
or not.
TA. He's staying until the contract ends. If not extended before that.
Right. So we'll see. He's the face of the franchise. And I don't know if it's the defense that's really going to hold him back. You know, if Tim Anderson's hitting 330, he's going to be getting a very big contract no matter what. Let's go into Andrew Benintendi though. I did want to show the picture of Andrew Benintendi getting the jersey 23. A very recognizable number in Chicago. He didn't say it was because of Michael Jordan, but he just said like
he was afraid he was going to get that question.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He said he said it's not because of Michael Jordan, but he was a Michael Jordan fan growing up. I think he likes the number just for reasons and has sometimes been able to wear it, sometimes hasn't. And I think this is the first time he's been in it as a major leaguer. But yeah,
18. I've seen 17, and his Instagram handle's 16. So 23. It kind of took me as a surprise when you first tweeted out the contract and the jersey number.
Ted Lyons is 16, if I recall correctly, and that's retired. I don't know who 18 currently on the White Sox is or other numbers but that's what he said. Like numbers were already taken and or retired that he would want. And so 23, he's just paying homage to great White Sox and great Red Sox, Brian Daubach.
Okay.
Sure.
I was thinking, Ecknerwall 23.
Nope. He was not.
Rock Ventura, Mark Tian. There he is.
Oh, tea time. My God.
Jermaine Dye, same position.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
I guess he's
also
Jermaine
same
Dye was
position,
right.
but like more of a White Sox legend, Jake Lamb. Jake Lamb played some right and left field as well. So,
true.
I think he's more of a White Sox
Remember
legend.
that.
And 18 was AJ Pollock, and that's retired, as AJ says.
Did anybody else get it?
Maybe one of the coaches.
Sunshine is what, 52 still?
Maybe one of the coaches has it.
But I think
Possible.
don't the players get like first dibs? I would think.
His comment was not that the numbers he's worn in the past were retired. I think it's that 23 had been retired in some of the other places that he had been, and that's why he hadn't worn it before. I'd have to go back and check the tape, but I think that's what I remember him saying.
Jerseys are fun.
Jerseys are fun.
I'm excited about the jersey. 23 is a good number choice.
It's a great
there.
one.
But yeah, Andrew Benintendi, let's get into some of his personality because I think I've heard him described as a professional baseball player. I mean, this is a guy that I think his prospects have always been known when he was a high schooler, was a two-sport athlete in high school as well, and he's kind of been described as a professional. So you'll now be able to see what his personality is like. Vinny got the chance to talk to Andrew Benintendi today. Shout out to Steven, who was there filming it as well.
Absolutely.
Here's the 5-minute conversation where you get to meet Andrew Benintendi with Vinny asking him some great questions.
Andrew Benintendi, welcome to Chicago.
Thank you very much.
Now, I saw you had a social media video that the Sox posted. Says you're coming in, you're talking about how much you like the food in Chicago. What's your favorite item that you've ever eaten in this town, in your new hometown?
I'm a big Italian food guy.
Okay.
But I'll say, just for the context of this question, I'll say deep dish.
There you go.
A nice
Sure.
little deep dish. The only time I'll ever get deep dish is here.
Sure. Deep dish, very good. You got to make sure you try this tavern style as well. It's all over the neighborhood here around the ballpark, so you just skip out and grab some, no problem.
Yeah, I will.
A little bit of a reunion for you with Pedro Grifol, the new manager of the White Sox. What was it like having him around the last couple of years in Kansas City?
That was great. I mean, obviously I got to know him the last 2 years, like you said, in Kansas City, and that definitely played a big role in me coming here. I'm a comfortable relationship with him. I'm aware of how he goes about his daily routine and his work he does and what he expects from me as a player. That was something that I wanted to be a part of, and obviously this team is very talented, and I've seen that the last 2 years and the last 6 years overall, so I'm glad to be a part of it.
We've heard so much about how the White Sox have had their eye on you for a long time. Do you remember back in 2015, interacting with their scouting department or anybody else in the organization?
Yeah, I mean, I know that I remember they had the 8th pick, and that if Boston had not taken me, they were saying they were going to take me at 8. But I just learned that they were trying to trade for me the past few years. I never knew that, but that's what I just mentioned over there. It's like you put things out in the universe, long enough, it's going to come true, and it's meant to be. So I'm glad to be here.
Some other familiar faces, obviously, in that clubhouse for you. We hear a lot of stories about Joe Kelly as a teammate. What are some memories you have of him back in Boston?
I mean, he's one of my favorite teammates I've ever had. He definitely brings the energy. But I think the best story would probably be when he was Jim Buchanan. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Back when we were playing in Boston,
You'll have to enlighten me.
yeah, there's some great videos. I don't know if they're still up or not, but he dressed up as a media member and was going around asking players, just funny questions. And a few guys didn't recognize him, but he's definitely a character. But great teammate here, got to be around.
What do you've played against this White Sox team for a while. When you look across the diamond at this collection of talent, do you see guys that can do something special? Do you see a group? Obviously, the Fortunes last year were not what they wanted them to be. Do you see a group that can win the World Series like you've done before?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, the talent in there is unbelievable. The pitching's unbelievable. The lineup is very versatile. And I think, obviously last year, I think a lot of it was bad luck, injuries or whatnot. I think definitely this team's got everything it takes to win a World Series, a championship, get the postseason. Just got to go out there, put a good season together, and make it happen.
Did you recognize a difference in playing against them in 2021 and playing against them last year? Did you notice a difference, maybe with how they were feeling or how they were playing?
Well, I think last year, you could tell that they were, hampered by injuries and things like that. But obviously at the time, I wasn't necessarily looking at the differences. But I think when 2 years ago, and the guys were a lot more healthy and they were rolling. I mean, I joke around with everybody. It's like, I'm glad I don't have to face these guys anymore. These pitchers, especially these lefties, that they got in there. It's crazy. It's tough. It's not a comfortable AB. So I'm definitely glad they're on my side, or I'm on their side now.
Who's the toughest at bat in this pitching staff?
I think Aaron Bummer. This is never a comfortable at bat for me. He's got that two-seam fastball that runs. It seems like 3.5 feet. Spring training, I'm going to be staying away from that AB.
You played with Moncada in the minors? Is that right?
I did. Yeah, and a little bit in Boston.
Okay.
And I got familiar with Kopech well. I don't think we ever played together throughout the minors, but before we got traded, we hung out, for spring training, things like that. So, coming in with a few familiar faces definitely makes you a little more comfortable, but I'm more excited to just kind of get a relationship going with everybody, get that chemistry going, because that can only help.
What do the Royals really think of Tim Anderson?
And he's a tough out.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy can hit. Dang, put me on the spot here.
He's had a history with that too, no doubt about it.
I think that's just how baseball is, and I think once you leave the field, I don't think anybody thinks anything different. Like, he's a competitor, he wants to win, and some people don't like that, and I'm not just saying that scenario, but I'm excited to meet him, play with him every day. I mean, he's a great player, great shortstop, and it's fun to watch him hit too. So.
All right, I'll get you a list of pizza places that you need to check out right around here. Andrew Benintendi, the newest member of the Chicago White Sox.
How long was that list of pizza places you gave him?
It's ever growing, Sean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I was able to drive by my favorite right there in Bridgeport. Phil's on 35th.
There you go. Andrew Benintendi can get and I like that you mentioned tavern style or deep dish as well, because he brought up deep dish.
It's a whole thing. Obviously, I'm almost more annoyed by Chicagoans saying we don't eat deep dish here than I am by everyone else assuming we only eat deep dish here. So you just got to spread the pizza love, make sure everybody's informed. Andrew's going to be here for the next 5 years. He needs to be welcomed with some pizza facts.
I think I probably have 2 pizzas once a month, right? And it's not usually one's a deep dish, one's a tavern style. I think we're blessed to have options in this city. I think we're very lucky. I've been thinking about this. We talk about the White Sox love for Andrew Benintendi since 2015. The fact that he even brought up that apparently they've tried to trade for him multiple times, and especially the one that you brought up where Dave Dombrowski even said, in the sale trade, it was Moncada or Benintendi, basically. We saw the smile on Rick Hahn's face when he hired Pedro Grifol. It wasn't a video Zoom, but I imagine there was a massive smile from Rick Hahn's side when the Zoom yesterday. Did Pedro Grifol get this job just because him and Rick Hahn could cut it up about Andrew Benintendi?
It's not, certainly. Well, here's the thing. Pedro said it today. He talked about it today. He goes, when he went in for the first interview with the White Sox, obviously there were several rounds, he had in his mind Andrew Benintendi, someone who could help this team, but he wasn't going to bring it up, not the place maybe to do it. And he said, he went into the second interview, obviously was still thinking it, and Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams brought up to him, what do you think about Andrew Benintendi? Obviously they've been together in Kansas City the last 2 years, and Pedro was like, well, hey, you brought it up, not me, so now I'm going to talk about it. But, I think certainly a mutual respect and an admiration of the talent there. Rick Hahn's exact words last night was, I think I've been waiting for 7.5 years to welcome Andrew Benintendi to this organization. So, listen, they finally got the guy they wanted to get way back in 2015. We're going to see if it works out the way they hoped. Rick said that, certainly met the expectations, fulfilled the wishes of the Red Sox. You take a guy with that kind of pick, the way baseball goes, I think if you can get Andrew Benintendi that the Red Sox got, a World Series winning player for them out of the number 7 pick in the draft, you are going to be very, very happy. The White Sox are the guys who have him now.
And as Hoosier Daddy brings up, it's the old joke about Kenny always gets his guy when he finally got Ken Griffey Jr., Manny or Ramirez and such, but Rick finally got his guy. And this is a good thing. He's in his prime. He's a guy that is only 28 years old and exactly what the White Sox need, except for, like Vinny said, doesn't have the power bat. So I love that Rick said, you know what, I'm going to keep on trying. I'm going to keep on trying to get the player that I want because I know what the player can do. The reason I like him is because his skill set works with whatever team he's on. And so getting him on this White Sox roster will fill out this roster a little bit better. And I like Rick's mind sometimes when he's allowed to do his thing. Andrew Benintendi is a solid player. And I want to bring up this point. I want White Sox fans, you can fan out any way you want to, but we give Yasmani Grandal a lot of shit because of he signed the biggest contract in White Sox history. He wasn't looking to do that. They just offered him a deal. He wasn't looking to set the standard. Same thing with Andrew Benintendi. They offered him the deal. So I want White Sox fans to say, not put that extra pressure on Andrew Benintendi to be the best player in White Sox free agent history type of thing. You know what I mean? He's just signed a major league, pretty much above average contract. So he's getting paid for what he is doing. It's not a ass-kickingly great contract. It's a nice contract that pays him what he's worth. So I don't want to put the extra pressure on Andrew Benintendi to be some ass-kickingly great player just because he's the standard bearer here for White Sox free agent signings.
Well, and again, it's in your interview, you brought up the team, and if the team can win a World Series, like that has been the idea when they signed Yasmani Grandal. That's what Kenny said, was that it opened up a 5 to 7 year window where they could win a championship. So again, I don't really think it's about Benintendi being the star. It just seems like he is a piece or another cog in this hopefully championship machine.
That was the point all along, right? It was the point all along was that this team was going to be powered by Tim Anderson and Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert, and that you'd add guys to that as needed. You know what I mean? Those guys are the core for a reason. Mm-hmm. And Benintendi is now a part of that because he's been added to the long-term planning, right? But again, this is that kind of quote unquote, to use a term that Rick used several off seasons ago, finishing piece, right? He doesn't have to be the best guy, but he has to complement what they already have.
Well, and two, this might even be the show tomorrow, like it doesn't even seem like this team is finished. Like it doesn't seem like the Benintendi move, even though it was the largest in team history, doesn't seem like it might be the last move for this team this offseason.
And this is just me speculating. Like, Rick wasn't there. I know he spoke last night to the assembled media via Zoom, but hey, man, he was probably out doing things. Hopefully.
I think it's vacation time too. So he might be
vacation to a player's house.
He might be toasting to the record contract that he signed and hanging out. We do have a super chat here. We're going to take a break, and Rick did say something that was very interesting about the Benintendi signing. That we expect maybe a lot of home runs in the South Side after 2020, but I don't know if Rick is kind of prepping you for that in 2023. Something grabbed my attention. We'll talk about that after the break. We also got Pedro Grifol's thoughts on Andrew Benintendi. Who's your daddy with the super chat? $5 super chat. Thank you very much. This is a contract you should expect your team to sign every few years, which I would agree. And hey, you saw them use or spend $54 million for Liam Hendricks, 72 for Yasmani, 75 now for Andrew Benintendi, and we've brought up, they've offered the most money for Zach Wheeler.
Well, and you're leaving out Dallas Keuchel, who got a significant payday that same offseason as Grandal.
64?
And paid him not to play.
Yeah, right. And even though, it's seats at the table, but, they there was 200 plus or 280 plus to Machado on the table. There was at least 118 plus to Zach Wheeler. So, I mean, the money is around there, and hopefully they're able to pull the trigger, or at least be able to dot those I's and cross those T's on some of those contracts for free agents coming up. Let's take a break here. We got to let you know about Greenridge Farm. Did you let Benintendi know about Greenridge Farm?
All the off-air conversations were about all of our sponsors.
Good. Greenridge Farm is a Chicago local meat and cheese company offering you a better all-natural option. Makers of all-natural deli, sausages, and their famous meat sticks. When Andrew Benintendi is just loading up, using those Benny biceps as that great nickname as he has.
Going to the Jewels.
Going to the Jewels.
For the first time.
After his post-workout, he's loading up with 16 grams of protein per meat stick. And these meat sticks come in chicken, Black Forest beef, and flavors like jalapeno cheddar and spicy chili. And if you haven't tried them yet, you don't know what you're missing out. They're delicious because they are made for recipes generations in the making, and being all natural, they deliver a fresh and flavor alternative at snack time. Again, like Herb said, you can find them in your local Jewels or your local Chicagoland grocery store, and you can find them in the refrigerated section at Costco and Sam Club. So right now, when you order any 3 meat products at greenridgefarm.com and include a pack of meat sticks in your cart, those meat sticks will be free simply by using code CHGO at checkout. Again, any 3 meat products, when you order any 3 meat products at greenridgefarm.com, include a pack of meat sticks in your cart. Those meat sticks will be free simply by using code CHGO at checkout. Greenridge Farm, simply natural meat. And hey, Andrew Benintendi now moving to the city. He's got to get set up with ComEd. ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities we serve save money and energy. ComEd offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities, whether it's lighting, HVAC systems, commercial equipment, kitchen equipment, or industrial processes. An authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs, and these can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. And within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately. So don't wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy-saving tips and to schedule a free facility assessment, go to ComEd.com/poweringbiz. That's ComEd.com/poweringbiz. And if you're ready to sign up for your facility assessment, call 1-855-433-2700 during normal business hours to speak with a ComEd Energy Efficiency Program representative, or email businessee@ComEd.com, or request an assessment online or at our website at ComEd.com/facility assessment.
Before you get on, Alex Potno says, my wife just asked me to grow Vinny's mustache. It's a weird thing. Like, she wants you to grow his mustache? Like, actually have Vinny's mustache grow on him?
Well, I don't know about that, but
Probably
like
the style.
Yeah,
Okay,
right. Like,
all right.
I think emphasizing that it comes down, right? It kind of where your beard line would be, like, shave that down under, because it's not just above the lip. There is a little
Ned
bit
Flanders.
of drip.
That's not what I'm going for.
Right. Who are you going for?
Originally it was all the way, this is, you're going for kind of your rock star, your 70s rock star look.
It looks
as
great.
best you can.
Yeah. I didn't know if there was a specific person, like a mustache idol.
You're out here influencing people.
Yeah, exactly.
Alex, you better do it, man. Wife asked.
Send pictures, too.
Yeah, send pictures, Alex. Let's get into this Rick Hahn quote that I found very interesting, because I've always been hit more home runs and go sign Kyle Schwarber. But this is what Rick Hahn said, and this is in Vinny's recent article at allchgo.com, and that is free for everybody to read when the White Sox got their man, but again are okay with the power coming from someone else. Rick Hahn said, "There's always a desire for more pop and more thump throughout a lineup, but I think Andrew helps diversify the way our offense is capable of beating you on any given day. It's not just going to be power based." And I think, when I think back to 2020, third most home runs in Major League Baseball, but they've kind of fallen off the wayside in 2021 and 2022, but maybe that was never the intention. Luis Robert has a high average. Tim Anderson has a high average. Eloy Jimenez only hit 15 home runs. We know Andrew Vaughn to be an on-base machine. Same with Andrew Benintendi. Same with Yasmani Grandal. Should the White Sox be hitting home runs? Like, should that be the emphasis of this offense?
Yes.
They should be hitting home runs, yes.
As much as they possibly can, yes.
But, like, we saw the Guardians play
a little bit of
you don't have
Guardian players.
Conventional baseball. Like,
You're talking about it being one or the other. And the idea, I think, for the White Sox is that it's a hearty helping of both of those things, right? Or all of those things. Everybody crushed Frank Menachino all the time because they weren't hitting enough home runs. But his thought process, and even Tony La Russa voiced this all the time, was if you're hitting the ball well, you're going to hit home runs. I mean, like, hitting the ball well does not only mean hitting singles or hitting home runs. You do all of those things, ideally, if you have the ability to do so. Eloy Jimenez should hit 30 or 40 home runs. He should also hit over 300. Tim Anderson should hit about 330 and be in contention for a batting title. He's won one already. He should also be able to hit 20 home runs. And I don't think that it is a one or the other. And I think the problem last year is that they weren't doing any of that stuff. They were hitting singles, and that was it. They weren't walking. They weren't hitting home runs. They were doing one thing really, really well, and that made for a lineup that was not diverse. The more skill sets you add into there, the more things your team can do well. Yasmani Grandal is going to walk. Yohan Moncada should walk, right? Both of those guys should also be power threats every time they step up to the plate. And if things are going right and they're healthy, they will be. That applies to almost everybody in that White Sox lineup. Yeah, there are certain things. You're not going to expect TA to walk. You're probably not going to expect Andrew Benintendi to hit a lot of home runs. But all of those guys should have multiple things that they can do every time they step up to the plate to make life hard for the opposing pitcher. And if everybody's clicking and healthy and doing what they're supposed to be doing and not chasing a bunch of outside pitches, then the White Sox are going to be a really, really dangerous offensive team, not just because they hit home runs, but because they can do all of that stuff.
And I think, too, that remember all last year, mediocre right-hand pitcher would come face the White Sox and slider them to death, and the game would be over 3-0 after a sparkling pitching performance. Andrew Benintendi in the second spot, hopefully from my liking, diversifies that lineup. I know Moncada was there, but he wasn't doing well. I think Andrew Benintendi gives you more of a well-rounded offensive game where it's consistent. Like you said, he's been at least average for his career. And so pitchers can't come in here and just like, same old White Sox, right-hander, slider, game's over. And with him in there, it gives them the opportunity to, I think, like I said, he's going to hit 25 home runs, I believe, in this 5-year contract, maybe multiple times, because of the park, because of his natural power. In the minors, he hit home runs. In college, he hit a bunch of home runs. This is a ballpark fit for his skill set. So I think that this team, and as Vinny said, of Eloy Jimenez, just put down 140 games. After you put down 140 games, you put down 40 home runs. That's going to be automatic. And if Luis Robert is hitting the ball hard, some of the balls are going to go over the fence. So
a lot of them, maybe.
I have no problem with those guys actually playing. When they play, they're going to stats. Stats are going to be coming on their side. That's the only thing I care about, just the stats. So if it's either or, hit singles or home runs, I know you weren't asking that question, hit home runs.
Yeah,
much better.
I
and don't play like Cleveland because you don't have Cleveland talent. You have a lot of plotters. Like Andrew Benintendi helps the base running, but you still have Yasmani, you still have Eloy, other people who are just going to be slow on the bases and not as great.
Maybe Cleveland did that because they had to.
Yeah,
right.
Cleveland only had one or two guys who were capable of playing a complete offensive game. They won in the way that they could win, and I think the White Sox, if they're playing well and not hurt all the time, they have so many different ways that they can beat you on a given night. Cleveland maybe only has one, and they did it really, really well, and they won the division. But the White Sox, when they're playing well, there are a lot of caveats here, of course, but should be able to do maybe not that, but 18 other things that could win a baseball game.
Well, I also thought that was a very political answer from Andrew Benintendi when you asked, well, what was the little, Pedro Grifol was like, they played with less energy. When you asked him about, what was the difference between the 2021 and 2022 White Sox, well, he's like, they were injured. So hey,
he's not wrong. They were injured.
Right. But, very, very political. Just, always keeping a positive side. Talking about power, though, and we talk about guaranteed rate field and how it's helped lefties. I do have a spray chart for you, Vinny.
Wonderful.
So here's Andrew Benintendi's spray chart in guaranteed rate field.
It's like Plinko.
And Plinko yesterday
going down to home plate.
Yes, Plinko yesterday turned 40.
Wow.
On January 3rd,
yesterday was Plinko's birthday.
Was Plinko's birthday. So thanks for bringing that up. Hey. We need the yodel. We need the mountain climber now. So, as you can see there, Andrew Benintendi has hit 2 home runs in guaranteed rate field, and they are both the pink dots on the left side. 2 of his home runs have been opposite field. home runs. So, hey, that was my biggest worry with Andrew Benintendi. I know it's a little bit tough to see, Vinny. I know you're looking up there.
I can see it.
No, my thing is more on, maybe it's just this TV. The single and the home runs look exactly the same. So I looked at the red dots like on the infield, and I'm like, oh, look at all those home runs that he hit to first base.
The orange and the pink are kind of similar colors in a way. But yeah, he only has 2 doubles too. They're both down the line, one down the right field line and one down the left. So there's really no gap power. The only really gap home run he has is that one homer, or only gap extra base hit he has is that gap homer. Andrew Benintendi for his career at Guaranteed Rate Field has basically the same slugging percentage as his career, 431 at Guaranteed Rate Field, 431 for his career.
Did you see all those singles that he's going to hit in 2023 right between the first and second baseman where you're not allowed to play somebody in short right field?
Right. I mean, he's a shift killer, even though no one's shifting him.
There it is. AJ says it himself. He can pull more balls without having to worry about the shift. To be fair, is that to be fair? Yes.
Yeah, and
That's
I
what
mean,
the kids say.
it's definitely, it'll be interesting to see how everyone adjusts to the shift in 2023. But I will just say, him stepping into this place doesn't seem like it will change the hitter. He had 826 at Guaranteed Rate Field. He's basically hit 826 his whole life. This is just kind of keeping the course. And I think what he does is he'll keep innings alive. And we do have the poll question about where should he bat in the lineup. Like, you joked about 9th, but Tony La Russa said it's second leadoff hitter. Like, he would then keep the inning alive to then bring, Tim Anderson up. And he's not the fastest guy in the world, but Andrew Benintendi, a good base runner, a sound base runner. Like, he could keep innings alive and then possibly bring up Eloy Jimenez to clear the bases.
But in that press conference, he said that he adjusts to how he played baseball, because he saw in 2021 when he went to Kauffman Stadium, he was murdering balls. And he's like, they're not getting out of here. So I need to change my game. If he sees in early going or May when the weather warms up that he can drive a ball that he doesn't need to kill and it gets out over there by the Miller Light, whatever it's called, should be the Goose
Landing.
The Goose Island. Rest in peace, Goose. Sorry. When he hits it in the Goose Island,
one day
he can see, okay, that wasn't a lot. I can do my regular swing, don't have to try to kill it, and it gets out in this ballpark. That's why they call it the Windy City. And then we'll cuss him out because that's not why it's called the Windy City.
I don't know.
I'll have a nice tavern-style pizza with Andrew and explain to him why they actually call it the Windy City.
From the podcast that had 7 players hitting 20-plus home runs for the White Sox in 2022, I don't know if I'm just going to talk myself into Andrew Benintendi now, hitting more than 10 homers because
you don't need to.
The Gulf. Well, Herb talking about the Gulf Stream and all this stuff,
Goose Stream,
the Goose Stream. I don't know if it's very nice that he said that about Kauffman Stadium in 2021, but I don't know how factual it is. You look at the fly ball rate, and there are a decent amount that probably would have left the yard at Guaranteed Rate Field. So maybe he's got that pop. I'm not sure.
Sean, since we're talking about him and home run hitting, he actually has 26 home runs against the AL Central in his career, which is the same number he's hit against the AL East, where he's played the majority of the games in his career. So something about the AL Central seems to really bring out the most in him.
Gee, I wonder what it could be.
I think they're just
8 million right-handed pitchers.
They're also just worse.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's 4 playoff teams in the AL East, and then they have the Royals. Well, I guess he was on the Royals. One thing that I did find interesting, too, just finding little tidbits, Andrew Benintendi has been intentionally walked the most by the White Sox. 3 intentional walks is the most he's ever had versus any team. I don't know if it means anything, but I did just find that. And I did think it was interesting when he thought Aaron Bummer was the hardest matchup in that interview too. I would say him and Jake Diekman are probably just very tough to match up with.
Obviously Aaron Bummer has not been the dominant guy the last couple of years because of the injuries that he was a couple of years ago. That being said, he's still just got a couple of pitches that are just out of control different from what the rest of the league offers. And if he can get that health together, he is going to be a very important piece of that White Sox bullpen.
And he comes not necessarily sidearm, but 3/4. And if you're a left-hander, you can't see that ball. And it's 98 on you quickly. Or it's a slider. Or it's something filthy. I'm sure that's a tough at-bat for a lefty. You don't want to see all those levers. I'm sure, I don't know what his extension is, but it probably is just coming right at you. It's like a ball gets on you quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, just very odd delivery. And I mean, that was funny that, him and Ethan Katz are working on the way it comes out of his hand. That's how he needs to perfect it. Marcos Bueno in the chat suggesting Benny Bridgeport for another nickname?
I'm in favor.
Okay, we're getting a thumbs up for that Benny version.
If we are forced to stick with the Benny, and I think we are, like
Benny.
the White Sox had it just blasted all over social media today. Pedro Grifol called him it like 100 times. I think we're stuck with Benny. So if we are stuck with Benny Bridgeport is just.
And then you'll get those people that's like, well, actually, the White Sox play in Armored Square. They don't play in Bridgeport. I think it's Armored Square Park, or where Armored Square is the official place, I believe, the White Sox play.
You have to dive in because there's the 77 designated neighborhoods, right? But there's more.
Yes,
that aren't part of that 77.
Like Wrigleyville is part of Lakeview.
Correct. And so maybe Armour Square is part of Bridgeport. We'll have to take a look.
Walkscore.com says it's Armour Square neighborhood. So,
Because I bet you there's a bunch of people who live in Bridgeport that have no idea that Armour Square is a neighborhood.
No.
Right. I just knew it as the park that they almost built, the current stadium on. You bring up Pedro Grifol, referencing him as Benny. He knows the man, and you got to sit down with Pedro Grifol as well.
I did.
We will have full videos, and if you did like the Andrew Benintendi one, or you want to rewatch it, or you want to send it to your friends, we will be posting the full Andrew Benintendi and Vinnie interview on our CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We'll also be posting the full Pedro Grifol interview on our CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We'll also be bringing back more clips tomorrow, but this is Benintendi specific, so let's get Pedro Grifol's thoughts on Andrew Benintendi.
A little bit of a reunion for you today, bringing Andrew Benintendi here, who was with you in Kansas City. Obviously, what do White Sox fans need to know about a guy that you know well already?
He's a baseball player. He's going to do the little things to help us win baseball games. I said in the press conference, he's a very versatile offensive player. I've seen him do both. I've seen him hit balls out of the ballpark. I've seen him get on base on a regular basis. I've seen him advance on balls in the dirt. I've seen him bunt. Definitely plays really good defense. He's a goal lover. So he brings a lot to this ball club. He's a really good fit for us. Really looking forward to having him in the lineup.
Is he going to help? He's only one guy, but is he going to help kind of do all those things and kind of spread that stuff team-wide? A team that might need to improve in base running, improve in defense. Is he the kind of guy that can lead by example and kind of get everybody else on the same page?
I think that's what he does. He's a quiet leader. He does lead by example. He's always looking in the small little details of the game to help us win games. And he lengthens out our lineup, right? We have a good lineup, and now we've added Andrew Benintendi, so that's pretty good. So I think that the way he approaches the game is gonna definitely set the tone for how the White Sox are going to play in 2023.
Again, when they hired Pedro Grifol, I said he's a baseball guy. I showed you the picture where he showed up to a wedding in a baseball uniform. And how does he describe Andrew Benintendi? Baseball player.
Baseball player. That's what you want if you're Pedro Grifol.
If he had a business card, it would say baseball player.
Andrew Benintendi, baseball player.
It's a good nickname.
Listen, what we heard from Pedro today, he mentioned it a couple times to me. He mentioned it during the press conference, used the word quiet to describe Andrew Benintendi, but followed it up with quiet leader or quiet, turns into something else. I think that helps, and I think even if he's not going to step into, again, not trying to draw this parallel, but it just springs to mind. He's not maybe going to be the type of leader that Jose Abreu was, but by doing things the right way, other players can see an example of that happening, and maybe you didn't need to, maybe you didn't think that the White Sox would need to be in this position, but how many times did we see last year base running mistakes and defensive mistakes and poor plate discipline? Benintendi does all those things well, and so that's an improvement there, and then maybe that filters out through everybody else. We'll see what happens.
Well, and Herb, when I was talking about Andrew Vaughn's going to be fine filling Jose Abreu's place at first base. You always were like, well, what's coming next? What's coming next? Andrew Benintendi is next, right? So they're trying to fill out Jose Abreu's absence with Andrew Benintendi and Andrew Vaughn. So I think it's a fine comparison, or at least connection to make. But the thing that I think that they will both bring, they're both quiet, but hopefully they'll be able to bring that same thing that Jose Abreu brought, and that's consistency and playing every single day. I think Andrew Vaughn, especially he's dealt with some injuries, but He's been, I think third or second in the past 2 years in games played for the White Sox. So I don't think it's going to be too much of a stretch to think he'll play more games at first base just because he's used to that position. And Andrew Benintendi's been very consistent when healthy. So I think you will get that quiet leadership, and you'll get guys that are posting every single day like Jose Abreu was. It might not be the same output, but it might be that same consistency, which, we've been kind of lauding.
And this is one of the things, like, you don't need an ass-kickingly great free agent signing to come onto your team. As we're seeing with Correa, the Mets are worried about him actually playing, because he's got various injuries that could keep him down for a little while. If Andrew Benintendi, for the most part, he has played games, he's posted, that gives you a level of professionalism. I'm hurt a little bit because no one goes through the season 100%. It's a grind. And it shows the example, like you were talking about with Jose Abreu, like, hey, man, that guy's posting. I saw what he did last night. He looked hurt, but he's out here posting, giving me actual good numbers while he's hurt. That is a big difference. Instead of him being hurt and then you having to go to a replacement player who's not him. Just the ability to, like, somebody's going against Andrew Benintendi and he might be 65%. I'll take that 65% over 100% of his replacement. So that means a lot of him going up. I'm hurt. I'm playing, but I'm going to give you my all. And everybody says, okay, if Andy's doing that, I'm going to be on that train too. And Andy. That also makes it brings it lifts all ships. One of them's got to be Andy. They both can't be Andrew. They're so buttoned up. Hi, Andrew. Hi, Andrew. How you doing?
Benny, Andy. I don't think that's too far of a stretch.
Benny and Vaughny.
Yeah.
And by the way,
I liked Drew as well for Benintendi, but I think maybe Vaughn's more of a Drew.
Our guy, Marcos Bueno, by the way, courtesy of Game Time, got hooked up with cheap Blackhawks tickets last night. Hey. Thanks CHGO. I remember you reading that read.
There you go, yeah.
And I was like, somebody's got to go out there because of Sean's read. He's like, the Blackhawks are playing tonight, a couple blocks down here, and Marcos, listen to you.
Well, and guess what? We got a Game Time ad. Like,
boom.
Literally. I mean, that's perfect.
The segues, they write themselves.
Thank you, Marcos.
Hat tip to Marcos Bueno. I don't need to throw it like Matt Peck would. But Game Time is the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. And if you are like Marcos and you listen to me and you're looking for something to do tonight and you're like, oh, man, I really want to get great Bulls tickets. The Bulls are playing tonight against the Nets. Hello. You can get great deals to the Bulls-Nets game tonight, and you can get the biggest last-minute price drops on Game Time. So on the seats you never thought you could buy. Great deals on great seats. They have the flash deals as well, and those are usually the better deals. You can get 2 tickets for, I think, $248 right now to see Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, a star-powered game in...
And our teammate Ayo Dosunmu, of course.
And Ayo Dosunmu as well. Southside Legend. Yes. You can go see this over at the United Center. But you won't find a better deal this season on Bulls tickets. It's created by the fans, for the fans, and it guarantees the lowest price. So if you love CHGO, then you'll love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. Join over 15 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats to all your favorite events, including Bulls or Blackhawks games. And Herb, I do love your style today, especially with the shady rays on the brim.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. Shady Rays never understood why sunglasses were so expensive.
Take them off.
So they set out to change it, and you don't have to break the bank for quality sunglasses this winter because our friends at Shady Rays have you covered. Shady Rays are premium polarized shades featuring world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, and styles catered to everyone and every lifestyle, and that's why Herb right now looks beautiful.
Herbie Sunshine.
Herbie Sunshine.
He can go out in the sunshine with them sunglasses.
Blocking those rays. And hey, if you're not like Herb, you get your Shady Rays and you don't like the product. Shady Rays stand behind their product and told our team that if anyone has a product, they will throw profit out the window and do what it takes to get it right. They offer free returns and exchange. You either love the shades or Shady Rays will pay to ship them back. That's it. And here's the thing. I love my 2 pairs. I got kind of a pair like Herb, a little bit more.
But your bridge is like connected, right?
Right, a little bit more metal. Yours are more
traditional.
Right, traditional. I guess mine are. I forget what style mine are, but I got more of a sleeker pair, and then I got one that has like a full visor across the top.
Eloy shades.
I got Eloy shades. I got 2 different styles. I love both of them. And here's the thing: you can order 2 pairs on ShadyRays.com. If you use code CHGO, you get 50%, 2 or more pairs at ShadyRays.com. You can buy one, get one free, and get 2 pairs for as low as $54. And if you don't like them, again, Shady Rays offers free returns and exchanges. We know you'll love them, though. Redeem only at ShadyRays.com, where you can find all their newest and best shades. All right, final thoughts here on Andrew Benintendi. Also, Happy New Year to Juan, who's wishing us a Happy New Year from Spain. Again, we're a global podcast here. Andrew Benintendi referred to himself as a big Italian, which I made me giggle.
He referred to himself as a big Italian food guy.
But I think he started off saying, I'm a big Italian food guy.
It's just that pause. Yeah.
What's the big takeaway here? Is it a happy day on the South Side? You know, I mean, is there a reason to be sour at all?
No, I mean, you could be mad. And, you know, of course, I'm always, you know, on the side of, man, the White Sox should do more because they're in this window. But Andrew Benintendi, the signing by itself, I think is a positive, above-average signing. Applaud Rick, Kenny, Jerry for doing that. Could they do more? Yes. But for this specific signing, I'm good for it. I love Andrew Benintendi. I love what he brings to the table, and I think it does the thing that I think White Sox fans want the most, is getting Eloy out of left field. Now, I know Pedro said blah, 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 right field. Don't believe it. He's not playing right field. If he does, it'll be occasionally. Calm down. He's a designated hitter, and that is the best thing that Andrew Benintendi does, is play left field for the majority of the time, keep Eloy out of left field where he should burn his glove. And if he ever plays right field, just don't have a glove. Because if you don't have a glove, it'll make you less likely to jump over a fence and tear your pec.
Don't burn books, burn gloves.
Yeah.
Especially Eloy's.
Only catch things that you can catch with your bare hands.
Right. We'll talk a little bit about more with Eloy in the outfield tomorrow. And we got some more Pedro stuff. We got some more Rick stuff. But, yeah, I mean, anything sour for Benintendi, or is it just,
there shouldn't be. Listen, I understand why people's expectations are high. They see other teams handing out contracts that are 4 times the value of what Andrew Benintendi got. But I think the White Sox have shown this offseason, whether you agree with them or not, that their strategy is to stay the course with the core that they've got. They believe that these are the same players who got everybody so excited over the last few years. Did they disappoint wildly in 2022? Boy, did they. But the White Sox are confident that that group of hitters can be the hitters that everybody envisioned that they would be, that had us predicting 7 different guys would hit 20 home runs last year. We'll see if it works. But Andrew Benintendi is a very good addition to that group. The thing is that he is not the single-handed savior that's going to come in like Andrew Judge might have been had he gone to a different team besides the Yankees, like Carlos Correa might be if he goes to, a Mets team that's already pretty loaded. But, there are players out there, be it Dansby Swanson on the north side or Trey Turner going to Philadelphia this offseason, that are those kinds of center of the lineup, really new face of your franchise kind of guys. People get really excited about those kinds of contracts. The White Sox did not hand one of those out. I don't know if they've ever handed one of those out because the face of their franchise has always been kind of a guy that's come up through their system.
Right.
You could argue some trades here and there, but, and so I get it. I get what you're feeling. You're like, they're supposed to win the World Series. They should be signing every player under the sun. They think that their roster is very well loaded with players that are going to get them to the World Series. And we will see if that's what happens.
And that's the thing. I agree with Matthew Lucas in the chat. It's not bad. They haven't earned the benefit of a doubt as a team, but they need to prove it on the field. And that's the thing. Is I'm just more excited for spring training now. I think that, Rick Hahn said you need to earn the trust or re-earn the trust of the fans. And I don't think they've done that just yet. But I think that this team, especially if they continue to add, and we'll talk about that tomorrow, I think that they definitely can trot out a team that's better than 81 wins.
Well, and I'll say this too. Let's say they signed Trey Turner to play second base, right? Mm-hmm. Does that regroup your trust? They still only were 500 last year. The last time they played baseball, they were a 500 team. Trey Turner is only one guy. They need to go out. The way you earn trust is you go out and win. You know what I mean? You go out and win. And if these guys don't go out and win, then you have no reason to trust the plan that this front office has set forth. If they do go out and win, then you do. They've won your trust back because they have shown that they were right to go in with that plan. So you can't judge anything based on what they do or do not do in the offseason. You need to wait till the wins and losses start happening come spring.
And Sean, with your point on this offseason where they allowed Jose Abreu to walk, and you said, hey, if they get what they can get from Andrew Vaughn and Eloy Jimenez, then you really don't feel that pain. And, I disagreed with it, but also now you have Andrew Benintendi contributing to that. A bunch of above-average players that were going to give you positive wars on all fronts, especially Andrew Vaughn, who's not going to be playing in the outfield, so he's going to be playing more of a natural position. If you just have a bunch of above-average players giving you above-average effort, you could be like the Royals in 2014 and 15. A little bit better because you have actual power hitters in the lineup too. But that's what the Royals were. They were just a bunch of above-average people who did good jobs. Nothing great, nothing spectacular on those teams. Just the bullpen just shut you down, and everybody got a hit, and everybody fielded the ball through to the first.
Right. And again, I think too, like, the stars are on the team. Like, if we know Luis Robert has that power in him, we know Eloy has that, star personality already. It just needs to be healthy and hit 30 home runs. And I think he'll be a star in that own. But yeah, if they all hit their stride and become professional baseball players, this team could do something. Absolutely. Final Benintendi stat. And then I got one more note for you guys. This is, you mentioned the way that he hit in 2021 in Kauffman Stadium. These are his line drives and fly balls in Kauffman Stadium in 2021. 118, which I was surprised by. Line drives and fly balls, and a lot getting to the outfield and a lot getting past the outfield wall. This is overlapped with the guaranteed rate field overlay. Yeah. So this is like, what if he hit all those fly balls and line drives in guaranteed rate field, and you see gaps or power to all gaps. I think I counted like 13 to 14 home runs. So we'll see what type of hitter he is. I really just need to see him play at this point. So I really can't judge it any further. Welcome to Chicago, Andrew, and hopefully it's a fun signing. I like 23. I'm going to be honest. When I saw his number was 23, I was like, okay, I kind of got a little bit of a better feeling. But I think it's very, number? Yeah, just from the number. Okay. I'm pretty basic. We did have some breaking news happen during the show, and it's not like pressing White Sox, but I do think it's very funny with the day that the White Sox announced Andrew Benintendi, the Red Sox signed Rafael Devers to a 11-year, $331 million contract, and I just find it funny because we talk about Andrew Benintendi and Dave Dombrowski, and you bring up Yoan Moncada, and he brings up Michael Kopech. That quote that you used in your piece from Dombrowski, the reality is they either wanted Benintendi or Moncada as the number one guy. Now, Devers' names came up after that, but it was clear that they wanted one or the other in order to start the conversation, and the next part of the conversation was Kopech. So I think it's just very funny that, Devers is still connected in some way to the White Sox. Just funny that it happened on this date. I don't know. Coincidence, really. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Congrats to Devers. That's a lot of money.
Hey, man, get your money. And Boston had to do something, so
yeah.
A smart move.
Congrats to Carlos Baerga for breaking it, too.
Great second baseman, better scoops guy.
Yeah, right. Watch out, Bob Nightingale. But yeah, Rafael Devers has now made a lot of money. Make sure that you read Vinnie Duber's fantastic work on allchgo.com. And you can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer, and his full interviews with Andrew Benintendi and Pedro Grifol will be posted on the CHGO Sports YouTube channel, so make sure you check those out. We'll also have some clips posted on our Twitter at CHGO_White Sox. We do already have a clip up there of Benintendi talking about the possibility of this team winning the World Series, so make sure you check that out as well. A lot of great content today from Guaranteed Rate Field, and also thanks to the White Sox for helping facilitate all of that and being so kind, allowing Andrew and Pedro to talk to us. Also, thank you to Herb Lawrence for joining us. You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to everyone for hanging out with us in the chat, and huge shout out to Stephen Nicholas, not only for producing the show, but for going to Guaranteed Rate Field, setting up the mics, setting up the cameras, and shooting those interviews with Vinny, Pedro, and Andrew Benintendi. Tech whiz, Stephen Nicholas.
I don't know about that.
Hey, you were looking. Jake was looking for that flash drive or whatever, or USB disc or whatever, and you found it.
Hide and seek champion.
But thank you, Stephen Nicholas, for your production, and we will talk to you tomorrow with more great stuff from Pedro Grifol and Rick Hahn about what this team could look like in 2023 and what else could be added. Thank you very much for watching, and go White Sox.